Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I thank the Honourable Member for the question. Madam Speaker, I am answering this question this morning. It's more a health-related matter, but in my capacity as the Chairman of the National Disaster Council, I would be answering in terms of the arrangements that were made during the meetings of the Council and, of course, relayed to all the relevant agencies that are responsible for not only PTSD, but related psychosocial and psychological first aid treatments as well. It is technical in nature as well, but for the benefit of the honourable members, basically post-traumatic stress disorder is a mental health condition triggered by experiencing or seeing a terrifying event, and usually in events such as accidents, disasters, in conflicts, there are a lot of PTSD, as it is commonly known, Madam Speaker. PTSD, if it is not addressed properly, will cause serious problems, particularly to victims. And this is why it is so important. And let me assure the honourable members of the House that during all the council meetings from the first week since the declaration of a state of disaster in all parts of Fiji, this has been the consistent message given to all the stakeholders in looking after our people. A lot of times we concentrate on the fiscal infrastructure and the reconstruction, and we forget the victims, the people, because people are important, Madam Speaker, because people have feelings, people have emotions, and this is why such a response is critical for us. But PTSD, Madam Speaker, let me go back to the question, is something that does not surface immediately post any disaster. Usually, Madam Speaker, it takes the first 4 to 6 weeks when signs of PTSD can start coming up with the victims, because usually in any disaster or post-conflict, post-accident activities, there is what we call an ambivalent state. That is when sort of the people are withdrawn, confused. That is the ambivalent state, and it's very hard to detect symptoms of PTSD. What government is doing, Madam Speaker, basically it's broken into 2 major components. One, as I've stated, during this ambivalent state, what is important is what we call psychological first aid or psychosocial support. What is psychosocial support? Psychosocial support, Madam Speaker, is simply just talking to the victims, talanoa, because in stress management particularly, if you study the subject, Madam Speaker, they always say that problem shared is half the problem solved. As you speak to the victim, venting out their frustrations and the dangers that they go through, they are opening up, and that is psychosocial support. Hugging victims, it carries a lot of message, particularly in comforting. First aid, psychological first aid, Madam Speaker, is more of a therapy type, and for the benefit of health workers and also the first aid, the responders or providers, there is a package provided by the World Health Organization, and that is distributed to all the agencies. If I may mention the agencies, Madam Speaker, the T.C. Winston government agencies were health, education, the Ministry for Women and Social Welfare, poverty alleviation. They are the ones playing the leading role within the cluster, Madam Speaker. And this is complemented by international and local non-government organizations such as UNICEF, UN Women, Empower Pacific, Medical Services Pacific, WHO, Women's Crisis Center, Fiji Red Cross, Lifeline Fiji, assisted by Lifeline Australia, Madam Speaker, Vodafone and Digishell, Fiji Council for Disabled People, or FCDP, the Youth Champs for Mental Health and Australian Aid, the Methodist Church of Fiji, and lately Israel Aid, Madam Speaker, in Guma, in Ovalau. These were all the agencies, and if I may miss one or two, I do apologize for that, Madam Speaker, but these are the agencies particularly more involved in psychosocial support and psychological first aid response. What happens after that, Madam Speaker? Post 6 weeks, particularly after the 8th week and so on, symptoms of PTSD come up, and also there is a package provided by the WHO that is given to health workers, particularly doctors and nurses as well. Of course, there is need for psychiatrists, there is need for psychologists, but because this is a common problem the world over in terms of the shortage of these specific skills, a package was also developed by the WHO, which is called the MH gap, or the mental health gap. To cushion that gap, doctors and nurses are also provided. So what the Ministry of Health has done, Madam Speaker, they have what they call stress wards. So for those that will be identified from the initial responders, they will be referred to the nearest health center, and they should ask for the MH gap specialist, whether she be a nurse or he be a nurse as well, and doctors too. And they will be given some therapy, and of course given time to recover in the stress wards as well. I might as well add, Madam Speaker, there are government officials who are victims as well, agriculture officials, nurses, teachers in the areas. All the ministries have been given directive from us at the National Disaster Council to relieve these officials, and most of them have been taken out of the area, recover, meet the relatives in Suva, and for those that are coping well, some of them have gone back to their respective localities, but for those that are having some problems, they are held back in Suva for more clinical response before they can be deployed. I'll stop there, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you. Seniority first, I give the floor to the Honourable Kiliraki.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. May I ask the Honourable Minister what is the process in place for the feedback from various ministries to the progress and the result of this post-traumatic stress disorder application in light of the school students who've been displaced, with particular mention of Queen Victoria School, where the roll is over 600, and they are geographically located, dispersed to all over Fiji, not in groups or clusters, in some places individually, in various schools, and in light to whether that can be a decision that may impact their external examinations, whether they have a plan in place to address those who are traumatically stressed during Cyclone Winston. And I've received feedbacks that children are still very much affected. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. I now give the floor to the Honourable Minister.
Madam Speaker, let me say before this Honourable House that it's not only the students of Queen Victoria School that are affected, and of course internally or redistributed in the school system, but there are other schools as well. Way back in 2012 during Cyclone Evans, most of the students in the Western schools were also relocated to other schools, and there were situations where Muslim students were in some Sangam or Hindu schools. This has been the practice in the past. But back to the question, Madam Speaker, health and of course the Ministry of Education, one, there is the cluster approach. In the cluster, I think there is another question by the Honorable Tikoda later today, and I will probably explain more about the cluster system. In the cluster system, we have what we call the humanitarian action plan. In the humanitarian action plan, they have strategies and on how they look at their critical areas and how are they addressing it and what are the gaps, what are the requirements. So they have their tracking system, Madam Speaker, where the students will have to go through the counseling. In fact, the psychosocial support and the initial psychological first aid that has already been given, they are, in fact, they have segregated data, particularly for women and for children, and likewise for those that are attending school as well, because this is a very sensitive issue, and of course we understand the fact that mostly women and children are the most vulnerable in any post-disaster activities, and this is where the tracking system becomes so valuable, Madam Speaker. The Ministry of Health have got their figures in terms of the treatment that they have made thus far. They have treated almost about 20,895, Madam Speaker. So I was talking about the cluster. That is what they have achieved so far. Unfortunately, I don't have the information about the gaps, and those are the work that will be in continuation as we are transitioning now from the response into the recovery phase. So they will definitely look at the students of Queen Victoria School. I know for a fact, Madam Speaker, that some of them have already been counseled in the schools that they are in. But I leave that to the Minister for Education and the Ministry of Health and the cluster, particularly the protection cluster, to work on that. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. And I give the floor to the Honourable Solomon.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I thank the Honourable Minister for his explanation on what PTSD is all about. But, and also we heard yesterday the contribution from the Minister for Health on the same topic, and also previously from the Minister for Women. So what I would like to ask the Honourable Minister is that, how is the Ministry or the Disaster Council coordinating all these efforts? And also, if you do have a plan, a written plan which identifies the agencies that are helping out, the resources that's been provided to them, and how available are they, so that we can refer the cases that do come up to us to those agencies. Bearing in mind that I was in Vonombalawu about 3 weeks ago, and that was like 4 weeks after the cyclone, no counseling services has been provided to the people of Vonombalawu. Thank you.
And I'll give the floor to the Honourable Minister to respond to the question.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Whatever can be referred to the Minister for Women can be referred to her later. But let me assure the Honourable Member that Vonombalawu is in the plan. And on the 22nd of May, Lifeline Fiji, together with Lifeline Australia, they will be in Vonombalawu. Specifically, again, because of the gaps identified, unfortunately, Madam Speaker, for the honourable members on the other side, this humanitarian action plan and the cluster system, this is a new arrangement, and most of them are not aware of this. And I will explain it when come the next one. The Honourable Tildar knows it very well. During his days as a divisional commissioner, there were not a lot of NGOs around. Because of now, there are a lot of NGOs involved because of cross-cutting issues, climate change, gender, human rights, disaster. And as a result, the humanitarian action plan is the plan. All the clusters have the plan, and I can show the honourable member my computer on the plans. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, and I'll give the last supplementary question to the honourable member that stood out first, and it was between the Honourable Vande and Honourable Mbulitabo. And thank you, Honourable Mbulitabo, for letting Honourable, or they're negotiating. I'll give the floor to the Honourable Mbulitabo then.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I thank the Honourable Minister for his answer this morning. In 1959, we had a YOS campaign in Fiji, and in every village in Fiji, they were allocated a nurse. After 60 days, if the Honourable Minister is closely following the Empower Pacific report, it has indicated that 1 in every 5 students do not concentrate in school because of trauma effects on them. The plans by, as revealed by the Minister, after 4 weeks, 6 weeks, what are the plans that are there? If there are plans to, at least at district level, we have councillors, then we have NGOs to treat people at that level and refer them to hospitals for stress therapy and all this. What are the plans that are there from NDMO that's on ground that will make people know where to go, what to do, and where to be treated?
Thank you, Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We have disaster committees right from the village level. And this has been established long ago, Madam Speaker. So it is these disaster committees at the village level that should be giving some directions to the people when they need such assistance. Otherwise, Madam Speaker, as I've stated already, the nearest health center, because the MH gap, as I've stated, prepared by the WHO, this has already been in place. In terms of preparing for the future as well, Madam Speaker, we have continued to discuss with the agencies involved, particularly on the training of more government officials. That includes the DOs particularly and the provincial administrators, so that they can be trained to provide the first aid support, and of course they can be the initial responders as well, so that it's not only limited to the Ministry of Health, but also the more government officials that we train for this purpose. They don't have to be specialists, but just to understand the subject matter and the symptoms and how to provide the necessary assistance, that should be sufficient, Madam Speaker. But definitely the disaster committees in the communities, and of course with the existing structure, we will try to continue to improve on this. Thank you, Madam Speaker.